Okay, so welcome to episode 1 of, we're renaming it. We're going to call this the Wing It podcast. At least that's the going name.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so who do we have on today?
Chris O'Neill.
Robyn Croll.
Jen Pugsley.
Okay, hopefully we're coming through loud and clear. We're talking about broker pain points, okay? Insurance broker pain points, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of pain.
There is a lot of pain out there, okay? By the way, this list was put together about 15 minutes ago.
No. This list was put together last night, and it's been curated over months of us talking to brokers.
Yeah.
So there's some depth.
Yeah.
There's
There's
some.
a
What I'm
lot of
hearing
depth
is there's
to
depth.
this.
I've seen it for all of 15 minutes, but I feel good about it.
Right.
That's why this
But you've heard these before.
Yeah.
I'm looking at
In
them.
several
I have.
sessions.
Yeah.
And that's why this is called Wing It, because we're gonna do our best, try to add some value here. So these are broker pain points that we hear in digital marketing, digital transformation, digital strategy meetings. Common concerns, common pain points, and common pushback as to why a broker should invest in digital. Is that what this list is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there are things that come up when we have a conversation with a broker talking about the benefits of digital transformation. And, very often they kind of feel like they're a little bit stuck. They want to change something about their business, but they don't really know what to do. And so we introduced the idea of digital transformation. These are some of the pushback that we hear, or some of the concerns that they have.
All right.
Sometimes they're questions, too. Like, in other words, like in terms of calling them all pushback, sometimes they're just like trying to understand. Like, why wouldn't I, just continue doing what I'm doing? Why wouldn't I just,
Right.
why not?
Yeah,
So these are the
that sounds
common.
right.
These are the common ones.
And these things have been, they also come up when they've tried a bunch of things over, non-structured things over a few years. And these also kind of come to light. Well, we hear these common.
Okay, so let's just go through them. The first one, I'm going to jump around. There's 9 or 10 on here, so we're just going to go through a couple of them. Doesn't digital just drive people looking for cheap leads to our website?
Does that happen?
I think it happens.
Yeah.
Definitely think it happens.
But that's not all.
Well, no, that's not really the focus. It's interesting how, why that comes up. And it could be because maybe they've seen other businesses or other brokers that, in an effort to try and drive as many leads as possible, they've said, let's just use keywords like cheap, thinking everybody's looking for cheap insurance. And what ends up happening, and they have a bunch of leads who are really, that's all they're looking for.
High volume, low quality.
Yeah, exactly. And then they end up spending a lot of time sifting through these leads when, very few conversions, because, a lot of these brokers, that's not the benefit they're selling is cheap insurance policy. It's more about service and quality and relationships.
And why do you think that is? Robyn, do you think that we talk a lot with our brokers about there being this missing of a strategy layer prior to doing any tactics?
Absolutely. I think they probably don't understand that by having a strategy, they can actually point out, what their brand value is and say, well, if this is what my brand value is, and this is the type of customers that we want to attract, there's ways of using digital strategies to say, let's put that out.
And not go after the cheap.
Exactly, not go after the cheap.
Go closer, Jen, because we're not going to pull it closer to your mic. Sorry, Robyn.
And I think we've got some great case studies proving how we can use keywords to drive very high quality leads.
Well, and then you've got the rate supermarkets and the search engines that are driving a lot of this lower quality, or the need for cheap keywords, servicing the need for cheap keywords, which I think also gets wrapped up in this mindset of isn't that just digital? This one that we heard was, doesn't digital just drive people looking for cheap for cheap insurance, i.e. low quality leads?
I think in a lot of cases too, it really is coming from somebody that hasn't really done anything more than just sort of heard over a couple of drinks or whatever what someone's individual experience was. And a person can certainly spend a lot of time buying keywords and have very, very limited success with them, when, as Jen was pointing out, it's not wrapped in a good strategy. So
yeah, I mean, when we looked at the various clients that we've helped be successful online, I mean, to say that they only drive cheap leads, I think it goes back to, or inexpensive policies, I think it goes back to the strategy. What are you targeting? Are you filtering out those leads? And then you end up with a bad name, or bad digital gets a bad reputation because sort of that's all you're attracting through your strategy.
Or you end up getting those clients in the door and you realize they're canceled for non-payment within 3 days because they're price shopping year over year, right? So without that target audience strategy and persona work at the beginning of any tactic, whether it's paid or lead gen tactic, that's often kind of what happens. We've talked to a number of brokers who really, before turning anything on, really thought they were going to get a type of customer, and then after 6 months of reviewing chat logs and the type of they realized, whoa, we're getting totally different customers than we thought.
And I think to your point, Chris, I think very few of them, there's anecdotal evidence, and I think some lead providers that sell the leads, which tend to be the low quality, cost driven leads. But very few brokers, at least that we've spoke to, have a good KPI framework to be able to actually measure, what's working, and move away from the anecdote of it's just driving low quality to say, well, actually we ran a dozen campaigns this way, and we determined that our quote to close ratio was X, and our lead to quote ratio was Y in these segments, and that's what we're trying to help them do.
Yeah, and I think that ties into something else we hear with, we've tried a few things and they don't work. And if you just sort of leave it at that level, well, you could just write off everything and you're not going to move forward. But if you take the time to say, well, why didn't this work? So if you didn't have a strategy and you were just going after leads and very low conversions, or as you said, non-payment, you would just say, well, this doesn't work. But then if you take the time to say, well, let me put a strategy around that, let me go ahead and execute and measure, then chances are you'll be a lot more successful in driving the kind of leads. And if things are not working, you'll have a much better understanding of why they're not working, and you can fine tune them. And we've seen evidence of that as well.
Okay, so I mean, that's a good one. That one comes up all the time. What about, can my BMS already handle marketing automation? Or can't my new BMS just do that? Marketing automation being one of the big things that we focus on here.
Well, this is one that comes up very often, because obviously you can't be a broker without a BMS, or can you? Having a BMS means that you've got policy management, means you've got a GL, means you've got all the things you actually need to actually run your business. But oftentimes the marketing automation pieces are not sufficient to actually compete in the current environment that we're in. Jen, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I think it was interesting what you said about, can or can't you operate without a BMS? I think that, I think we're still in a world where BMS is still a main system and will be for some time here. And it is, similar to a CRM and another organization, it is the main system, right? As far as, can these bolt-on, in some of the new ones, these bolt-on quote-unquote marketing automation tools, I think that from our investigation, they're not as robust or meant almost to power true marketing automation at scale. So they might be able to send a one-off email, they might be able to alert sales, but in the big picture, they're not really wrapping around a holistic multi-level drip, not really formed around any campaigns with landing pages. So it starts to break down after, and you know, brokers won't really, you know, be able to see this because they don't really have anything else to compare it to.
So a lot of brokers talk about the integration with the BMS being a primary driver and almost getting in the way, that can get in the way of making the right decision for a marketing automation platform. If it's in the BMS, in some cases there's platforms out there that have claim that they've got levels of marketing automation built in, obviously more integrated just by default. But then there's other products out there that will have a level of integration, and that's kind of where they go first. It's like, oh, well, it's integrated, let's just go there. And then they, to your point, Jen, they miss the holistic look of the ability to service the customer journey or with those toolings. And, you know, so I think, I mean, I definitely see that as a common concern, just integrating with the BMS. And, you know, we know that there's technology out there that provides that integration or doesn't require it as much.
Well, I think the other thing that you know, we like to help to educate our customers on the marketing automation pieces that you get with a marketing product that is keeping up with other marketing products as opposed to keeping up with other insurance products, because you know, the functionality that you get with a state-of-the-art, you know, marketing automation system is able to take your customer, whatever they wish to do, is take them through the entire journey, and to help you to measure that response that you're getting on each one of your campaigns. When you look at some of the, you know, I don't want to call them watered down, but I would say when you don't have the level of investment in the marketing automation platform, where you're basically competing with like one, you know, half of a body or half, you know, one arm tied behind your back, you want the most power that you can possibly get out of your marketing automation platform so that you can draw on and have the reporting that you want on your entire prospect base, your customer base. You want all of that.
What you're talking about, as we've talked a lot about, is bringing market leading technology into the broker landscape, right? So, I mean, obviously the BMSs of the world are very specific platforms that, you know, are market leading in and of themselves to a large degree. I mean, I think you might be able to adapt to Salesforce.com or some other platforms to, over time, take that over. But when you look at all the other systems that might be there from a marketing perspective, there are already industries out there, in the marketing automation industry being a big one, that has top 10 leaders in it, all of which, to your point, are, you know, 50 to $1 billion companies that have large research and development budgets that are out there creating great technology for marketers that can pull data from a BMS or an ERP or a CRM or any of these systems that are out there. Brokers aren't aware of these tools. I mean, they don't know of them. It's not necessarily their job to know about them, but very few have maybe marketers that are aware of the broader landscape to bring those technologies into insurance and leverage them. I mean, there are some examples. I mean, Guidewire, there's, you know, products like that have sort of evolved from other industries and come into insurance. Obviously, people get really scared off about Salesforce and replacing or doing anything around that because it just seems like such a beast. But marketing automation isn't that intensive, but it's educating why you would use a platform and not
a bolt-on.
Not a bolt-on and not your BMS.
You know, and I think I think what's challenging for brokers, and what I see in these meetings, or we see in these meetings that we have all the time, is that they don't know the questions to ask until it's 5 months into a contract, and maybe they've hired a digital marketing specialist who then is asking all these critical questions. Well, what about the landing page, or what about, you know, a form or website tracking, and realizing, oh, well, we didn't even know to ask those things. So I think these demos look really slick and they look like viable options, but when you really start actually trying to wrap it around a real plan, I wouldn't think that any principal or any controller or any general manager from a brokerage would even know to ask those questions.
No, because they have their area of expertise. Their expertise is insurance, and that's, you know, that's the value that they bring to their customers. So, you know, when they want to embark on a marketing strategy, you know, just like in other industries, you know, you're going to engage with experts and platforms in that particular direction. And, you know, I always like to think of this as a partnership, is that working with a broker who brings that expertise about understanding who their customers are, the value that their brand brings, you know, the type of insurance, and then partner with a company that knows about marketing automation, not just from the broker perspective, but across multiple industries. And it's really, you know, for any industry to grow, they need to be able to look at what other industries have done. You know, that's really the way to learn and to advance. And so when you engage with a marketing automation platform that has where there is investment, and the investment is based on multiple different industries, that's how you're going to have the best of breed. And then you have that connection that says, okay, this is a, you know, best of breed marketing platform, and this is specifically how we can use it to grow a broker's business.
So, you know, an open mind. I mean, we saw this with retail. Eventually, retailers started to adopt best of breed technology, e-commerce platforms that weren't born out of a retail specific point of sale. All of a sudden there was these industries that came up that were platforms, and we would go acquire a platform and utilize that as best of breed and bring that technology in on the marketing automation side and email side. And certainly those are other examples, personalization. But how do you keep an open mind? I mean, how do you, as we know, a lot of the brokers we work with can be both unaware, but also not willing to go down that road, or not willing to really have an open mind to explore. And then the moment they see something that has an insurance wrapper on it, you get really, oh, okay, I guess it does everything. So how do you keep an open mind to review these other options?
I think one of the things that we'd like to, I think I hear all the time is like, it's easy to take the path that looks easy. And, you know, it's like, there is a balance with that. Like if we look at the platforms that, you know, the best of breed platforms that we support, there is a level of like, okay, maybe Marketo is not a fit for you, or Eloqua is not a fit for you, because like that's just that's just too much, right? And I think that sort of that argument of easy is different than, you know, just we're going to take the path of
not
least
having
resistance.
the features,
and,
not
you know,
having,
and I think that's a wrong way to look at it. The right way to look at it is, these are our goals. This is how we want to grow, and these are the areas we want to grow in, and we need to bring in the right technology that's going to power that.
I don't think there's anything particularly unique about a broker wanting to be assured that the decision they're making is one that other brokers have made, because, you know, we have these conversations with other, you know, industries where it's like, oh, do you have you know, financial? Do you have you know, manufacturing? Do you have whatever? And I think, you know, there is a little bit of the path of least resistance, or, you know, no one ever got fired by, you know, hiring IBM, whatever you know, whatever analogy you want to use. But I think that there is sort of a contingent, there is a population out there that is looking for something different. That is looking to distinguish themselves, to have more personalization, to have more sort of uniqueness in their value proposition. And those are the ones that I think are going to be most open to looking outside that box.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this one up. I think, you know, what we've learned is that we could actually go for a while on any one of these bullet points. So we're going to keep these. So we're going to do a couple more on another video, whether it's the next one. Stay tuned for that. hot topic. We'll probably have a client on here to speak to these as well, and just keep this going. So
Our broker clients that are killing it.
yeah, they're killing it.
And
one.
feedback.
Yeah.
Don't we want feedback? We
And
want
we
to
want
hear from anybody out there listening to us.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Feel
yeah,
free
yeah.
to hit the like button and subscribe to the Wing It podcast. Thank you.
Good.
Good. Done.